Hey everybody, it's Tripl-L coming in to chat about Mahouka episode, looking at the episode number 11, episode 11. Hey everyone. So, let's talk about Mahouka. I got my little top moments here. I will preface it by saying that this looks like this is a conclusion type episode with setup for the next little bit. We're at episode 11. Let me just do a quick check of how many episodes are actually left for this season. So we have episode 12 and 13 left according to Annie chart. That's cool. That makes me feel a little bit better because it's like, this is kind of weird. This feels like an episode of conclusions. All that said and done, however, me personally, I end up feeling a little bit disconnected with the material. And you know what? Looking at the episode, there's quite a few chunks that I don't necessarily care about. It's not really reaching me as a viewer, but at the same time, I don't believe that the anime actually cares either. To give you an example, Tatsuya, he gets his whole thing about that new course, the magical engineering course. And because I know Tatsuya's issue with those little badges, it's like, oh yeah, this is pretty cool that he has like a little emblem on his thing now. Like that's neat. But then it's like, what were we doing? I didn't even realize it was going to be graduation time. I didn't realize that last time we were in the middle of February that we would be going to the end of March here. I didn't realize that graduation was around the corner. You see all these different characters and it's like, I don't know who these characters are anymore. This was a season without them. We're having a big moment at the school and it's like, what have we even done in the school? I didn't even know that the magical engineering was a background plot in this season, and that might be on me for not remembering events from the first season perhaps. But when I look at this episode, I don't think that the light novel would have done the same things. I'm ultimately left thinking that in this episode, an episode of conclusions, everything from before just doesn't lead up to making this satisfying. If you want me to, like, in the episode we also have that situation with Lena doing a concert. I sincerely doubt that that was explained the same way in the light novel, and if it was, then that's this criticism applies to the light novel as well. But looking at it, it just feels like I would have loved to have seen Lena go out of her way, because that would have endeared me more to the character. You want me to care about this character, but ultimately she falls flat. It's just it's a weird spot to be in. I think I am legitimately curious about looking at the light novel at this point. It's just this. It didn't connect with me. I ultimately feel very sad. Just because some of these events are just randomly happening. I mean, when you have a random cutaway to a winter wonderland, it's like, what are we trying to do here? What's the point of all this? I don't care about, to some degree, as some events are good still. But I have top moments. That said, the top moments here, they're not particularly strong. They're just highlights that I think the episode wanted to have as highlights. And I will talk a little bit about what I think worked and what I think didn't for the top moments. But once we get into the second half of the episode where it's just set up, it's just like, well, good to know that we're having setup, right? Good to know that we're doing a party. Good to know about this girl that shows up that's related to a character from season 1 kind of thing. Neat stuff. But yeah, no, this episode, man, it's conclusion and setup. And when Lena is one of the characters getting the conclusion, when you've botched Lena the way you have throughout the season, it's like, I'm not getting behind what the anime is selling me here. I think this is not the strongest thing in the world. There's been some highlights here, but it's not really there. That said, I do have one major criticism, because now this one is I'm lobbying this criticism at specifically the original writing, because at this point it's not even the character's fault. Last week we were talking about what's going to happen if Tatsuya realizes he failed with the parasites because they got caught. Like, did he know that they were there? And then we come into this episode and Tatsuya is just saying, I even have the thing screen capped here. Tatsuya is saying, it only means whoever did it is one step better than us. And it's like, can you imagine being targeted by let me get Tatsuya's wording right here. a commando infantry platoon belonging to JGDF's 1st Division. Can you imagine having these people show up there? Can you imagine having Tatsuya be aware that there is that family's influence in the area? And can you imagine these kids leaving the parasites by themselves and then being surprised that the parasites got kidnapped? Especially for Erica and Leo, who have already been taken advantage of or been taken for a ride by government forces. No, that's stupid. That is sincerely stupid. The writer did not do a good job here. I don't for a second believe that Tatsuya, with his background, and Erica, who was ready to mobilize, which never happened, never really happened, never went anywhere, was ready to mobilize the people of her dojo and is ready to murder people on the flip of a dime. I refuse to believe those two characters, after just beating up, let me just bring up that image from the last episode. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. After taking down 9 of the commando units, would think it's a good idea to leave the parasites alone. Am I unreasonable to believe that? Like, what do you guys think? Is that an unreasonable concern? No. At some point, we have to be ready to just say whoever did the writing or the composition for this, because really, can't say anything about the light novel author because I don't know what the anime's botching here. But someone in the position of writing here doesn't seem like they're worthy of all that much respect. And this is unfortunate because I don't for a second believe that Tatsuya would do something so stupid at this point. Nor do I believe that for America, because this is, again, the epitome of carelessness. I mean, sure, do we want to say that Tatsuya is careless? Sure, I believe that Tatsuya has been written to be unfairly careless. I think the characters are being done a disservice by whoever is in charge of the writing here. And that criticism, I think, I'm going to put it towards every single person who has had a main shot in the anime for this season. Because I think Lena's also been done a disservice. I feel that Lena's character arc here only works because Tatsuya says it works. I don't see any authenticity when it comes from Lena in this particular thing. You know, last week I was hard on Erica, but at the very least, Erica is still sassy. At least Erica still has a degree of autonomy. Like, honestly, if Erica wants to... Look, if the author wants to favor Erica, it doesn't matter, because at the end of the day, Erica is being told that she's correct. I can respect that because she has a strong character. But at the same time, then, you know, the comparison goes to Lena, because Lena's character I don't think is very strong. Just to talk about Lena here a little bit. Lena, at the beginning of the episode, comes to the conclusion that she can be something other than serious. I have this at the top moment because I still do like Lena. She can be something other than serious. And I do like the artistry of how when she has that realization, some of the dawn light comes onto her face. I do like that idea, but this whole plot thread about being something other than serious, it's a little bit tricky because I need to be able to respect that she did center a good chunk of her identity around her role as serious. But the thing here is that the only time that it's been painted as negative is during this volume. And this is where one of the problems with light novel structure shows up. Although this is the first time I've seen it be this bad, it might be a combination of being a bad adaptation making this problem worse. Light novels are set up, and you can read all your light novels and you'll see that this is a pattern for the majority of them. Light novels are set up such that the problems that are premised at the beginning of the light novel are the problems being solved for that light novel. Sometimes there will be details that carry over, but anything that is premised at the beginning of a light novel will be answered here. And when we look at the situation with Lena, the Tatsuya premising that Lena was in trouble started roughly where you would expect a light novel to begin. It might have been at the previous volume's ending or at the current volume's beginning kind of thing in terms of what volume's being adapted here. The reason that becomes a problem is because it causes a disconnect with the other 2 volumes that Lena was most likely in. And the reason I say that is because Lena has had positive experiences with Sirius. Her time as Sirius is not entirely negative the way that Tatsuya wants to bring it up, right? And when it comes down to Lena's own internalization of the assassination, that is a cold work. It's like, I'm not even sure how to begin evaluating this, because when Lena is saying, rather than let them live as demons, I wanted their souls to rest in peace. It's like, first, using the word demons, like there might be a bigger message here, because from what I understand, those parasites are inheriting the desires of the people that they're parasiting off of, and then they're just bolstering those desires. If Pixie is any indication here, I think this is some little bit of propaganda going on here internally with this whole rhetoric of their souls being in peace. Again, like, the parasite situation, from what Pixie is telling us, is not as simplistic as the demonization, quite literally, that Lena is creating here. Now, mind you, that's actually an interesting plot point, because that's, again, an issue of how a character is internalizing things. I wouldn't take away anything from that, but the anime just makes things so vague that it's hard to actually get a full-on grip on this type of stuff. You know what? Before we continue talking, because there are interesting points here, let's just go through the top moments. So my top moments here, like I said, Lena's reflections at the beginning of the episode and the affirmation that she can be something other than serious. Look, you know what? Lena already, she's got some issues. I believe that the light novel did a better job with her, just from what I'm seeing in the episodes. I can't believe that anyone would realistically put this into paper. So I want to give her credit, and I'm going to blame the anime for just botching it. Moving on, my next top moment was the graduation. That just came out of nowhere, but I appreciate it. You know, great stuff. Mayumi's scenes in general, you know, I like Mayumi, so anytime with her was great. There was legitimately a laugh out loud moment. It's when they were holding Lena down. All I gotta say in that picture is like, yo, Mayumi, where you touching, man? Where you touching, right? Where you touching? But then moving on, Lena doing the entertainment and having a little concert. I thought that was a really cute sequence. I thought that's really adorable in an episode that's about Lena deciding she could be more than what she is. Again, though, like, you know, when I see, okay, you know what? I'll hold it. Then we had Shizuku's return and Lena's farewell. I thought this at the beginning was really nice and cute. I like the idea that Rei has sent some information for Tatsuya. I wish we could have seen it in the episode, but you know, removing content that's not a surprise for the anime, in all honesty. And then Lena's farewell, I thought it was okay until it moved into the whole rhetoric about Miyuki and Lena being rivals. In the novel, you know what? I'd probably believe it, because I think the novel would do a better job at it. But in the anime, just to make it clear, my top moment, specifically the emotional aspect to it, but when Miyuki comes in there with the rival rhetoric, we have 2 single scenes of Miyuki and Lena coming into conflict. This is not what makes a rival. Maybe a rival for Tatsuya's affections, but this was not very good. I don't think it was properly built up. I think things are lacking, but that is the theme for the season. Moving on, next up moment, the random Winterland of fun. It came out of nowhere. The Yotsuba we're watching, whatever, it's going to be important. I had to go look up the character just to make sure I wasn't missing anything. I was, just from the first season. My next top moment, the start of the new year and Tatsuya in a new class. I enjoyed that because I actually enjoy seeing Tatsuya move up in the world. Like that made me feel good. I wish that they reminded us that there was a rhetoric about the magic engineering course, but I'm not gonna hit it hard. I'm gonna assume that there was stuff going on in the background, because Tatsuya's involved with the android lab for some reason. We didn't really know that until it was imported. Well, for this season. So I'm gonna be careful with that one, you know, because it might just be an issue of my own bad memory, not remembering details from the first season. But then again, it's been years. And then last top moment is just the general setup. There's a party. what can I really say about that? I'm not sure if you guys can tell, but I feel very defeated. But going back to the whole thing with Miyuki and Lena, yeah, nah, man. You can tell me they're rivals. You can tell me that Tatsuya is okay with the idea that the parasites got taken. You can tell me all these things, but I don't believe you because you haven't put in the effort to make me believe this. I think Mahouka is better than this. Maybe not for this particular volume, because this particular volume was just a series upon... It was a series of contrived events upon contrived events. But again, I want to say that I think the anime might have been the mistake. Is there something else I wanted to say here about Lena? Oh yeah, no, you know, at the beginning of the season, Lena had a positive relationship with the people she was with. She had a positive relationship with her assistant. You know, that's the part that makes this whole back half about Lena being a prisoner just feel so empty. Because when you have Lena being happy, when you have someone treating Lena like a regular girl at the beginning of the season, you have to address that nuance. You can't just tell us, you just can't just let Tatsuya take over the narrative and have him dictate everything about Lena's life. I need to have that nuance answered about how Lena internalized some people within the force, because she's not just serious, and I legitimately don't think that Lena's assistant from the first 4 episodes of the season would ever tell Lena that she was just serious, because that wasn't their relationship. Lena had positive tones here. Now mind you, when the Americans come in and they botch everything, because the Americans are incompetent, you know, it gets a little bit darker. But if there's one thing I would have enjoyed more, it would have been more time with Lena. Because for these, everything about Lena is just the product of a lack of screen time. Even in this episode, right? Like even a situation with Lena having that cute moment and doing graduation thing, I would have loved to see more of that, honestly. The rival thing could have used more build up. Everything about Lena could have used more build up. On Tatsuya's side, Tatsuya is just, I think this is an issue where the author just, or like the writing, right? The writing fails Tatsuya. That's what it ultimately is. They can no longer make Tatsuya a reasonable character. And that is unfortunate. Now, I do want to make a note about Tatsuya. Him being okay with these failures, that might be a sign of character development. It's just relatively hard to be able to understand how harsh he is on himself. Because, you know, last time he said everything was okay, but then when he finds out there was a consequence, he went into the shower, and that might have been because he was concerned about Lena. Maybe he was sad about the parasites. Hard to tell. Hard to really gauge how Tatsuya feels about failure nowadays, because it's just been all over the place. Yeah, no. Overall, I think pacing, right? I think if we had more time with some key characters, I think it would have been a little bit better. I don't think there's any fixing certain events, like leaving 2 parasites in an area where you know there's enemy combatants. There's no excuse for that. That's just classic narrative dictating things as opposed to the logic within the world. There's nothing we can do about that. That's been the theme for the last 3 episodes. But other little bits here can be fixed. When it comes, we gotta talk, I guess, about that last little bit of the episode and Minami. When it comes to the Yotsuba doing things in the background, it's jarring, but the best thing about it is that it's so isolated from the rest of the episode that you just watch these events and you're like, alright, cool, you know, 2 kids are coming to see Tatsuya and they like him because they call him brother and all that. Maya's doing stuff with this girl and putting her into a situation where there's going to be an attack from an extremist group. It's like, you know what? That's great little bits of detail. There's nothing we can say about that besides maybe talking about the choice to place them where it was in the episode. There's nothing else we can really say about that. At least the background, if there's one thing, the background events have always been very clear, right? Like, we have a pretty good idea why the old man might be interested in parasites. Like, it's kind of clear to me. Well, not clear, but you know, like clear in the sense of an antagonistic force within the series, right? Like that kind of clarity. But yeah, no, that was Mahouka episode 11. I'm gonna look up I'm gonna see if I can find interviews about Mahouka. And you know what? I am gonna put time aside to go through the light novels, just to really understand where the fault lies here. But yeah, at the very least, I'm happy that Lena has a happy ending, I guess. And I'm actually very, very happy for Tatsuya getting a symbol on. I know it's a stupid thing, but I really respect that. That was cool. Anyway, guys, let me know what you thought down below, and till next time, I hope you have an absolutely great day.